I kept saying during the lockdowns that you were destroying 8 to 15-year-olds. You're destroying them. This is the age in which the peer relationship is so important, and you're not allowing them that. You're handing them iPads and where they're getting sexting and watching porn anywhere. They're not getting any education. And you're telling them they can't contact their peers, and if they do, they're going to kill their family. And in the meantime, shelter in place. Remember Garcetti kept saying every night, shelter in place, shelter in place? Yeah. That is a phrase reserved for an incoming nuclear weapon. I kid, that's what that is, or an active shooter. Before COVID hit, or right when it was hitting, I did an interview with a guy named Larry Brilliant. He's the world's leading expert on smallpox. And he said, you don't need to do anything when epidemics hit. People naturally isolate. Mm-hmm. They watch out for themselves and they isolate socially. That's just a natural phenomenon, and it is inevitable. So the idea of having all this centralization and authority on high is the problem right now. It is making things worse.
What do you make of the psychological component now for young people? Because we're seeing rates of anxiety
Horrible.
That are through the roof.
Predictable.
Now drug use, I think you can actually connect this to the gender confusion too. Like just everything is kind of up in the air at this point for these people.
I kept saying during the lockdowns that you were destroying 8 to 15-year-olds. You're destroying them. This is the age in which the peer relationship is so important, and you're not allowing them that. You're handing them iPads and where they're getting sexting and watching porn anywhere. They're not getting any education. And you're telling them they can't contact their peers, and if they do, they're going to kill their family. And in the meantime, shelter in place. Remember Garcetti kept saying every night, shelter in place, shelter in place? That is a phrase reserved for an incoming nuclear weapon. I kid, that's what that is, or an active shooter.
I'm proud to say you were at illegal parties at my house, Dr. Drew. I don't think it's going to cost you your license at this point. But
you're right; those were illegal. It was the French underground back in those days, right?
Yeah,
we were like this like group trying to put information out, trying to continue to share ideas. And if you're 9 years old and you're telling them that shelter in place and you're going to kill your family and no peer contact, of course there's going to be depression, anxiety, and developmental delays and cognitive issues. It's just inevitable. And on top of that, the economy to the young people that I've spoken to looks bleak. Not only does the economy look bleak, the usual sorts of motivations for engagement, they can't get inspired by anything. There are a lot of like, who cares? Why everything sucks. We suck. America sucks. You boomers suck. Why do I want to dedicate my time and life to some pursuit? What am I going to do with it? It's really sad. So it makes me crazy. That's why I said when I was walking around Coconut Grove and seeing a lot of young people out there socializing, I'm like, please, yes, more of this.
So what do you do? I mean, from a therapist perspective, what would you do if you're talking to now a group of 12-year-olds who, they were 9 when this was happening. They're anxiety ridden. They're confused about a bunch of stuff. Like what do you actually do?
Like anything, you try to, you manage the conditions, whatever comes along. You try to get them to engage in reality on reality's terms and then make a difference. How do you, because, most people get through crises of any type or even mental illness of any type for that matter with service of some type. There's always that some sort of engagement as part of it. And you've got to get them there. And I would not be good with that population because I would say, aren't you angry? Aren't you pissed? Aren't you furious?
Right.
I'm not supposed to, you don't do that in therapy. You don't give them your stuff.
Right.
But I hope they get to a place where they're furious, livid, and want to make a difference and get things back on track where people can be inspired. There's also a spiritual malady that's been going on in this country for quite some time. And that has become acute. I don't know exactly what that looks like to solve it, but we've got to do something on that front.
Where do you think the prescription drug, I would say pandemic, falls into that? Maybe that's not your word.
The overprescribing?
I saw something, I think a week ago, we showed it on the show, that about 10% of American adults are on something for ADHD, either Adderall or one of these things. And to me, it seems like even if a huge percentage of those people, it's necessary in some respect in helping them, that a society that 10% of its people are drugged one way or another, there's something much bigger going on here.
I think that's true. Like there is something bigger going on. And in terms of the medication, I think this is what always happens in mental health. We are at once overprescribing and underprescribing. People, again, look at the streets.
Yeah.
People who need medication are getting it. And if they don't want to take it, you're supposed to just go, okay. When they die because they don't. And then there are people that come in with a little ordinary misery. When Sigmund Freud first, I don't know if this is an apocryphal story or not, but Sigmund Freud apparently, when he hit the shores in New York, reporters came up and said, "Dr. Freud, what do you hope to achieve here in America?" And he said, "Well, I hope to understand the difference between real mental illness and ordinary misery." And we have lost track of ordinary misery.
It's a good title for a book, Ordinary Misery.
It's a good.
You can have it.
I'll quote you.
No, it's fine. You can have it. You can have
it. But we need ordinary misery. It's good for us. It's how we create resiliency and how we solve problems. And we are intolerant of ordinary misery. And at the same time, we've lost track of what it even means to be happy. And happiness has become this, what's called, I think we've talked about this before, eudaimonic happiness. Hedonic happiness, which is just woohoo, which is great. I love that kind of happiness. But it doesn't last, and it's always an appetite of drive to more. Eudaimonic happiness, which is an active engagement in a meaningful, nourishing life, people don't even understand what that is anymore.
So it's basically sort of the difference between a sense of purpose, which would be the latter, and just like, I'm having a great time today because I'm going to the amusement park.
A good life and a party. And when I first started thinking about this different, I thought, oh yeah, my heroin addicts are super happy. First hit of the day. Are they happy? Is that happiness? But they're happy in that moment, but it's not happiness. Happiness. And, I sort of, lately people have been resonating with this when I say, look, Jesus Christ lived a purposeful, good life. Wasn't always happy. If he had focused on hedonic tone, on that kind of happiness, things would have turned out quite differently. And often a good life is a life of sacrifice, a life of engagement, a life of work, of doing hard work.
So all right, we talked about how you can get people off some of the drugs, let's say. How do you get people off all of the wrong ideas now when you also have a generation that is confused about sexuality? They're confused about the founding of the nation, just that freedom is bad and good, up is down and 2 + 2 is 5, all of those things. That's a different type of addiction.
Different problem. I think reality has a way of asserting itself. I think reality, I'm watching, sort of my children's peer age kind of wake up in the real world and kind of go, oh, well, maybe that isn't so, maybe that wasn't so true, or maybe I was a little deep in it. Ideology, whenever ideology takes hold, humans suffer. They just do. Just look at history. So we need to really hammer. There's so much engagement in social media. You can talk about freedom. You can bring ideas out that they haven't heard before. You can constantly push historical sort of tidbits out so people come to understand what this country is founded on and what the other histories of other countries have been that we can learn from, that they seem totally disconnected from. And so I just think persistence. I think keeping it going and allowing reality to assert itself. And then I'm hoping a real anger will emerge in young people where they go, hey, I was taught some bullshit and I believed it, and now it didn't serve me well, and I'm angry about it.
It's funny, the therapist who wants people to be angry.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm an internist. You got to remember, I'm an internist by training.
Right.
So I go back to my medical roots, even though I worked in a psychiatric hospital for 35 years. But yes, I want people to be furious.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics instead of nonstop screaming, check out our politics playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist, all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.